What's up? So if you're anything like me and you're using Unreal Engine to build an environment, whether you've been doing it for a while or you're just learning the tools, at some point you must have asked yourself, wow, there's a lot of different, awesome, powerful tools, but they're all separate. We have our landscape building tools, we have our PCG tools, we have our material tools, and they're all kind of living in these separate windows with separate interfaces and separate workflows. And wow, it would save a lot of time if we just had them in one place with an easy to use interface. Well, I came across this tool called Massive Worlds, and I wanted to share it with you all because I think it checks all of those boxes about taking all of the disparate tools inside Unreal Engine with kind of strangely different, complicated workflows and ins and outs you have to learn, and just combines it into one easy interface so that you can build environments procedurally, leveraging the latest tools. It just saves you a lot of time, to be honest. Came across this tool and I asked Michael, the developer, to come to join one of the coaching calls that I do with my Aziel Arts Academy members every month. I think this tool is super useful for a lot of you, and so I wanted to share this video with you in case you might want to check out the tool yourself. You can find a link in the description. With that, I'll turn it over to Michael. Enjoy.
Massive World is mostly a tool that helps you generate a full world for the landscape and the vegetation. And it's a connection tool to help you build the world the way you want it in a non-destructive workflow. And the way that Massive World works for the landscape is that it will place some landscape patch in the world according to some rules that you want. So if I go inside Massive World here, blueprint, there's a small editor that comes with it. I just run the editor and you have this little graph here. You can see here the number of stamps. You can switch the size. Do I want more mountain or less, and so on. So just to quickly show how it works, I have this cube here. This is the work zone. I will just move it here and I'll click generate and it plays some mountain. So if I want more plain instead, less mountain, and then you can adjust the size of the patch or make it bigger, lower, and so on. You can also do the whole world if you want. And the reason why I work with this work zone is because I made this tool to be compatible with word partition. You can just unload part of your world, you work on it, make some mountains and so on. It works in word space. So even if part of this world is not loaded, the stamp will see them and then it will work properly. And behind the scene, you can see those are the stamps that are placed randomly according to the rules. You see there's a list of 8 maps that come with it. So it's just random in the world. And once they are placed, you can just, if you want to do some fine tune, you can still move them yourself, change the scale. Those are not mountains, so it doesn't look great when you scale them up, but you get the idea.
Is this something that works at runtime or could work at runtime?
Not the landscape part. It's mostly an Unreal limitation. There's a new landscape system that will come very soon, I think. There's trace of it in 5.6. In the roadmap, they say it will have some, they don't say voxel, but some sort of voxel-like behavior in the sense that you can dig cave inside the landscape and so on. I can't wait to be able to play with it. So for sure, I will update to use this. Not for the landscape part, but all the biome, the village too, and so on. It all works at runtime. There's no problem with that. There's additional tool that to say, hey, I want a forest right here. So there's this scriptable tool here. So I can just click on a biome like this. I select what kind of biome that I want. So I'll just go with the basic forest and I just draw in the world. And now I have a forest. And since the last update, I even have a priority system, so I can have another forest here with a bigger priority. It will override the first one biome, so you can see the difference. And there you go. So they communicate with each other. It's PCG, so you can modify the graph to do whatever you want with it. It's non-destructive, so you can move it. It will always adapt. That helps you with how to place everything. So if you go into a landscape, it's not a tool, but a no biome that you can use and just draw in here. If you want one specific spot with nothing in it, it's working, so it removes them. There's also a tag that you can use on any object, no biome, that you can set on your blueprint or anything, and then it removes the trees around it.
So that's an actor that you spawn in the PCG graph with
Yeah,
a tag? Okay.
yeah. There's a few other solution. You have a remove biome, so it's a remove spline, and then so this small piece here is an assembly that I've made, and there's also this one, so you can just go inside the massive share because I want it to be available on all my tools. And you have this place of interest that you can see here, and this
Yeah, I
is
saw
an
you talk
assembly.
about that. What's a place of interest in your thinking? I saw you talk about that, but I didn't get it.
Okay, yeah. So a place of interest is an assembly mostly. So you can do, a grave or anything you want. It could be a house, and then you just place it in the world, and PCG will see it, spawn accordingly. Of course, now I need to force refresh, but now it will remove the trees and so on. And something very cool with this last update is that I've made a tag generator that you can extend if you want. So if I go inside my demo, you have level assembly, massive world. So this is my small level assembly. And if I go back into the massive share, I have another tool here called massive tag, run editor widget. And you have now all the tags that I've implemented myself. So you have the rotate, project to landscape, no biome to remove the biome and so on. So the name are self-explanatory. The only problem that I had is that the tag can't transfer an integer or a float or anything. It needs to be a bool, true or false. So I've made a few one for the chance to spawn. I hope that in the future we'll be able to do some, I think it's substring that it's called, so that I could create a tag, add a number, and then it sees that number to create that chance and so on. But yeah, this is a small assembly that I've made. Another thing that I can show you is the back house. And I will go on it. So this one have one little neat feature. Is mostly for the door. You can see there's a door tag in here. So what PCG will do is that if it sees a mesh with the tag door, it will understand that it is a door. So when it assembles this level instance, it will spawn an actor that you can click on it, open the door, and so on. Something really nice too is that if you go inside the database, it's all a database workflow, by the way. So if you go inside the database, I've made a new biome here. And the first thing that I ask is which biome graph do you want to use? So let's say you want to do your own custom PCG graph, you want to use it in your world. You could, let's say, as a starting point, duplicate my biome. I would suggest you to do that because there's a lot of things in it. You can just have a quick look. So it's all the remove area and then all the integration with village and so on. So I get them first and so on. So if you duplicate it, you will save a lot of time. And then you can do your custom implementation in it and use it inside your massive world when you draw and so on inside the world. For the biome, you can create them with the database. So I've made a few one to showcase a bit later, but you can see there the name of the biome, the graph you want to use, the type of vegetation, and then once you bake, give it time. Okay, so you can see there the colors change, and you can move the biome, stretches and so on, bake again, and then it just paint on the landscape. One limitation though is that it will not affect the physical material. It's the only one so far. And this is something I would like to rework. Well, we'll see with the new landscape system that comes soon. But
and the new material that you override, is it overriding the diffuse, or is it actually putting a new material there?
So this is really cool. It's like a complete auto material that works like a decal. So I have like I have my main landscape material with the auto material, the landscape, the beach part, and so on. And then this landscape material will give the slope data to this mask. So this is how I made it another kind of auto material. That's really cool. So I get that data, and then I have the diffuse, the normal, the ORD, but I use one channel. I think it's the roughness I have to use because I need to transfer the slope data. That's just that part, but my material also transfer the displacement. So if you want to use it with nightlight displacement, it looks very good. It will modify everything.
If you have been getting a lot out of this call, or you're just tired of piecing information together from tons of different YouTube tutorials and you're not sure which things are up to date, you have questions, or you're frustrated with courses and training being very general and not really specific to what you're struggling with and what you have questions about, then you might be interested in joining Aziel Art Academy. I've taught thousands of students over the years through my courses, my YouTube channel, private coaching. I also taught at university, and I've seen some students excel and just explode in their craft as well as creatively. And I've seen other students just kind of fall down this black hole of unfinished projects and just frustration, and they kind of hit a wall in their learning journey. And so I would often ask myself, what's the difference between these two students, and how can I build something that would really help people and give them all the support that they needed to really excel as artists, in this case as environment artists using Unreal Engine. And so I came up with Aziel Art Academy, which is a blend of regular coaching, personalized tutorials, a private community that comes around you and supports you in your projects, a place for you to ask questions, and of course over 100 and counting high quality video tutorials and self-paced training courses that really will fill out all the gaps in your knowledge. If this seems like something that you might be interested in, I have a link in the description that you can jump over to, and we can get on a call and talk about if it's a good fit for you. All right, let's get back to the tutorial.
What I have to do now is to go inside Massive Well, and it's all documented, by the way. So inside Massive Well, blueprint, and then run editor utility widget. So you see this little cube will appear. If you don't have landscape patch, the layer inside your landscape, it will add it and so on. So it set up everything for you. And then from here, I'll try to build the landscape a bit. So I will just extend the region a bit like this. I'll do this small region first, and then just click generate world. The stamp are a bit small, so I will make them a bit bigger. You can use your own stamp, by the way. You can make your own collection of stamp. So I did a small generation here. I'll do another one. Oh, I made a small mistake. So basically there's a reset area, and what it does is that if it touch another stamp, it will delete it. So we'll just disable this one. And then, yeah, let's say we have this world here, maybe some small mountain.
Are you talking about landscape stamps or PCG stamps?
Landscape stamps. So it's landscape patch. 1 second. Okay, this one is way too big. Okay, it's because I've removed the reset area. Okay, all right, now it looks good. So landscape patch, it's made by Epic. So those are stamped like this red square that I can move in the world. And it works really well. I like it a lot. You can scale them up and down, so it's really cool. You can place them with PCG, but it could be tricky, because if you place a forest on PCG, but the landscape is modified by PCG, it's easy to have some infinite loop and so on. It's really doable, by the way. It's not impossible. It's just a different setup. And in my case, I wanted to do this little UI setup that I think worked very well. So I've made my own system in Blueprint. But what it is that those are those BP stamps that are made from Unreal. And those are actors that you can spawn using PCG if you want. So you can definitely make your own world generator with it. And then this stamp will take an image like this one. So it's a small
Oh, it's a height map.
Yeah, it's a height map. In Massive World, I have like I think it's 100 height map that comes with it. They are all set up. And then if you want to add your own stamp inside my database, I have this DT stamp that contains all the stamps used. 70.
Very cool.
And you can customize them with some offset. How do you want it to blend to be the maximum height of each stamp or an average and so on. So it's really cool. And yeah, once they are placed, you can add them manually yourself, or I even made another stamp generator here that just spawn a random world.
And this is all in selection mode too.
Yeah, it's really cool for that. And in this case, the system type some volcano. I could do some random mountain.
Wow, that's so cool.
This one may need a bit of height like this, but you get the idea. Yeah.
Michael, this is similar to Gaia, isn't it? Gaia Pro over in Unity. This is basically
Yeah, I think
Same
yeah,
concept.
like Gaia work by placing stem and then make one master image, one out of those stem. If my memory is good, it's been a while.
Yeah.
The tool that I've been using the most was microverse on Unity.
Hmm.
So it was mostly my inspiration with the non-destructive workflow and so on. But Gaia was a good example. And when I said that I wanted to build a world inside Unreal but couldn't find any proper tool, I
No, there
was
isn't.
looking, yeah, I was looking for something like microverse or Gaia, but inside Unreal and couldn't find anything. So I ended up
Yeah.
making it. And now I
No,
don't
you did
want
a
to
good
make
job, mate.
game.
You did a fantastic job.
Hey, thanks. I really like doing this, and I'm really full time on this. I mean, it's been a huge success. So I guess I'm the lucky. I'm among the lucky one that I'm a full time dev since that moment. And just to quickly explain, I've made a little world to showcase with a few assets on the store, mostly the MA oak forest and the medieval house. So I thought that what we could do is that I could just showcase what's inside this world, how I made it. So this is a small demo world that use a massive village. I'll just walk into it. And those forests is placed using massive worlds, so they communicate with each other. They can see all the collision inside the spline and not just the spline. So that works very well together. A bit further here, I've made a little farm. Oh, it's with the ultimate farm, by the way. So I managed to do it quite quickly. So again, it's always with the drawing tool. I have like this farm. Let's say, well, I want blueberry, and I can just draw like this, and it creates a new one, and so on. And then here I've made a little forest with the asset that I showed you. So mostly it's in a forest inside another forest with different setting. It's all the same visual, but with different rock density and so on. And it all use the PCG partition by default for maximum performance. So you can see there you have a grid and another grid here and so on. So it works very well. It's using PCG partition only since the last update in 5.5. Before that, I wasn't very ready to do something proper with it. And the performance is around 60 FPS. Basically, I've been doing game dev for like 7 years, something like that. Mostly on Unity with my first game that was Brindfall. And that was my first experience to both start a game, releasing it, create a massive open world, and so on. And with that experience, mostly on Unity, I had a few jobs as a tech artist at other studios, and my job was always around building open world, mostly in Unity. So that's how I got most of my experience with procedural tool, mostly again on Unity, maybe with Houdini a bit, and so on. In Unity, there's a lot of things that is not automated like you have inside Unreal. Like on Unreal, you have word partition that helps a lot. Inside Unity, you have to code it yourself and so on. The landscape system on Unity is very, very old. And then, yeah, I've made an open world on that engine, so it was very hard. So this is why after the release of my first game, Brindfall, I decided like 2 years ago to switch to Unreal. And it was so amazing and different to build an open world compared to my experience inside Unity. My first plan when I switched to Unreal was to create another game that was Frontier of Madness, another open world sandbox top-down. So I started by doing the mechanics. So I made my combat system using gas. I made my inventory system and so on. And I had all the mechanic working. But then came the point where I had to build a world. And I was looking on the marketplace what tool I could use. I wasn't very sure. There's none that I did really like the workflow. And it was around Unreal 5.3. So this is where PCG started to came inside Unreal. So it was a good timing. For me, we could say that I started to experiment. So I was like, how can I build my world? How can I accelerate my workflow in a way that I could reuse it for multiple games? Because when I personally build a game, it's not just one game, it's multiple projects that I want to build. So my code are reusable and so on. So I started to experiment with the landscape patch and then PCG, how to build a biome and so on. And it came to a point that I liked it so much that I just decided to make a tool out of it and release it on the marketplace. It was very, very successful. People love it. Epic Game took the tool, showcased it on the marketplace too, so it made a huge boost on the visibility and so on. To a point that I was like, okay, it's fun to make game, but I really like working on PCG a bit more than my own game now. So I spent almost the whole year to just work on PCG, doing some contract to other clients too, using my tool. And then PCG evolved to with 5.4 that was more structure and so on. So I made a village attempt that went very well, that I still work on it and so on. So this is how I kind of decided to become a full-time game developer, but for the marketplace.
If you found this video helpful, I would appreciate a thumbs up or a comment. If you have any questions, like I said, if you're interested in joining the Academy and jumping on awesome calls like this, as well as getting access to the private group, personalized tutorials, and all my courses in one place, check out the link in the description. I will see you in the next one.